Snake Productions.
نبينا الهادي محمد القائد الأعلى المسدد. نبينا الهادي محمد في روحه عزم عظيم، في الهمة الكبرى تجسد، يغشى الوغى من غير خوف، وحنين والأحزاب تشهد. في روحه عزم عظيم، في الهمة الكبرى تجسد، يغشى الوغى من غير خوف، وحنين والأحزاب تشهد. القائد الأعلى المسدد نبينا الهادي محمد، في روحه عزم عظيم، في الهمة الكبرى تجسد.
Dear Muslim brothers and respected guests from the non-Muslims who are seeking to understand the purpose of life, my speech to you concerning the purpose of life, as I always mention, is simply a means of communication. However, it's a very powerful, critical, vital subject. And before I enter the main point of the topic, let me first ask you a question that may stimulate your minds. Now, many of you are, and most of you, are educated, well endowed, leaders in your own fields, fathers, mothers, professionals, sophisticated human beings. But did you ever ask yourself the question, or a set of questions? Do you know why you are here on this earth? And when you die, and of course, there's nobody that has any doubt, regardless of what persuasion, what denomination, what gender, what background, what church, what religion, system, ideology, or ism that you belong to, there's no doubt that everybody in this room one day will die. Now, if there's anyone that has a doubt about that, then you're the only one that doesn't have to answer the question, what is the purpose of life? Because you may be able to circumvent the consequences or the responsibility of that question. Of course, no one has any doubt about death. For if the benefactor of life, the causer of life, the creator of life, the owner of life, if that source of life had no other power over the creatures that have life, death would be enough evidence. Where is your destination? I don't mean where are you leaving from here, but where is your destination? You don't know where you came from. You say you were born. I mean, before that. Where is your destination? Think about this question and ponder it seriously. as we continue this presentation. Now, in the world that we live in, there are many beliefs, many religions, many philosophies that have been offered to satisfy or respond to this question, because human beings are the only creatures on the earth or in the heavens. And of course, we're speaking about based on scientific fact. We're not talking about Metro-Goldwyn-Mayer or Steven Spielberg or Disneyland. They have some other philosophies that they will give us the indication to believe. But until now, there is no scientific evidence that there are any other creatures in the heavens or the earth who has the intellect or the faculties or the capacity of human beings. And because of the faculties that human beings are endowed with, they have the exclusive ability, the freedom to think and feel and to say I, me, and to express what we call ego. No other creatures have this ability. However, we know that even that ability is limited, because when the human being is a child, there is less ego. And as the human being becomes older, there is even less ego. The height of the human being's ego is at the height of their strength, their development, their endowment, what they have, what they call strength, possession. But it lasts only an afternoon. That afternoon might be in some cases 20 years, 30 years, 40 years, 60 years, 80 years. But inevitably, the years of the human being passes quickly. And as the Quran says, وَخَلَقْنَا الْإِنسَانَ فِي أَحْسَنِ تَقْوِيمٍ ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. And we created, God says, He created by His own power the human being and gave him or her the faculties, perfect, balanced, complete faculties of intellect, intelligence, seeing, hearing, feeling, taste, touch, thinking, and the apparatus of the body. We gave the human being a complete set of faculties that is created that human being with a mold. ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. But after that, after giving them, endowing that human being with that perfect set of faculties, ثُمَّ رَدَدْنَاهُ أَسْفَلَ سَافِلِينَ. Then we return him or her to the lowest of the low. They lose the eyesight, they lose the hearing, they lose the smell, they lose the touch, they lose the taste, they lose and depreciate even the physical composition. Now this is what the Quran said almost 1500 years ago. Is this the case? It is. It is only human beings that have the ability to think, feel, imagine, and explore, to propose, and to determine. These human beings have, over their period of recorded history, developed and put forward many different concepts and answers, and many writers, poets, sages, philosophers, prophets, and messengers, peace be upon all of those prophets and messengers, have come to tell us, you and I, what is the purpose of life. Now, to be literary, we need to define life as it applies to the universe. And we don't mean to define life universally, because we cannot. It's too wide of a subject. It's too far, and we haven't explored that much. The time that man has been on this earth, man has come to discover a few things. But relative to the size of the universe, man hasn't covered even a pin drop. But man has discovered a few things about himself, his environment, and the world. So let us define life as it applies to the human being, his society, and his environment. And then let us consider the purpose of our existence in this respect. Generally, we find in the dictionaries the following definition of human life. 1, the phenomena of existence. The phenomena. This means something which is unsolved, unknown, profound, and scientific facts yet have to be able to explain it. Phenomena. Another word for phenomena is called miracle. The phenomena of existence as it applies to 1, biological development, 2, social dynamics, 3, psychological and mental processes, 4, the interdependence and interaction with the external environment, and finally, the complete synchronization of the many micro and macro systems that support human existence and the universe as we know it. Isn't that a profound definition? Next, let us define the word purpose, because we said life. Now let's define purpose. Purpose means objective, aim, significance, meaning, target, mission, reality. That's purpose. With these general definitions, let us surf the web. Let us approach our topic, the purpose of life. Now, in our discussion, the purpose of life, let's keep it all in context. What do we want to do? We want to know that as human beings, what is our objective in respect to why are we here and where are we going? And who is our benefactor? Who or what is our common benefactor that is responsible for us being here? Because when we define that, then we know who we are accountable to. It's very simple. Those of you who work on a job and you're not the boss, you understand the issue of subordination. And those of you who work on jobs and you are the bosses, you also understand accountability and you exercise it. Now, some facts that we need to think about and talk about: the creation of the world. Is the creation of this world, in all of its complex forms, is it the result of the thinking of human beings? I ask you, yes or no? Yes or no? I just want to make sure we're in consensus here. Another fact: man is the most sophisticated creature in the known and explored universe. Now, we heard about E.T. But there's no evidence, no scientific evidence, with all the theories and sightings of extraterrestrial beings and sophisticated civilizations outside of this universe that Star Trek has come in contact with. It hasn't been documented. Until now, man is the most sophisticated creature in the known and explored universe. Therefore, if he's the most sophisticated, just like the boss on the job, he is the most what? Responsible. That there are inherent laws, both physical and metaphysical, that govern the universe and also govern man. And to make sure that we're not getting too abstract, law is as simple as what you witness if you go to the top of a building, male or female, rich or poor, of any color. You go to the top of a building and lean over, you are witnessing the phenomena of law. It comes in the form of fear and apprehension, but it's the law of falling, because you will not be able to deny gravity. And if you cannot deny gravity, you also know that falling from a distance will cause you some harm, trauma. That's a law that's inherent. Another simple law is that if you are a functional human being and you eat and drink, you will also from time to time have to use the toilet. All human beings, no matter who they are, how smart they are, keep this in mind. No matter how arrogant they are, what kind of clothes they wear, what kind of talk they talk, what kind of weapons they have, they're all just human beings. When you know that, you can still deal with them and keep everything in context, because some of them would lead you to think that they're different. Everyone and everything in this life will inevitably be subjected to erosion, depreciation, annihilation, and death. Everything. And as we sit here, everyone here is getting older. Another day towards death. You can call it older, but it's a little closer towards death. And even as we say here, it's already there. We say now, it's already then. So even the present is something that eludes us. We only know the present by virtue of how the sun moves. Minutes, hours, days, weeks, months, years. And we wouldn't know that if we didn't watch the calendar or the clock. It's called time. We also know that the earth is equipped with a perfectly balanced environment for the existence of human life, and that until now, with all of man's instrumentalization, with all of man's sophistication, with all of his exploration, man has yet to find another planet or star within his reach that has an environment suitable for human life. Isn't that ironic? The earth is what planet from the sun? The third planet, isn't it? If it were the fourth planet, it would be too cold for human life, wouldn't it? Would not harness, service human life. If it was the second planet, it would burn up. Human beings could not live. They would suffocate from the heat. But the earth's atmosphere is maintained and balanced perfectly from where it is. If it was just 5 miles closer to the sun or 5 miles away from the sun, it would fall out of its orbit and we would all die or disintegrate. Who keeps the earth in that perfect balance and orbit? And who put that earth there? And who put the ecosystem around the earth so that everything on the earth would complement it and also serve human beings? Who did that? The intelligence of human beings is specially designed and endowed for administration, accountability, organization, development of technology and industry. So it's no accident that human beings build things, that human beings are able to figure out things from the time that they rub sticks together and find and was able or produce their basic needs, such as growing things. From the beginning, man learned that he had the intellect to implement, improvise, create, design. But one of the unique things that man should always keep in mind, whatever he's able to invent, design, engineer, improvise, create, it's always from something, isn't it? Always from something. Can man create anything, design anything, maintain anything, engineer anything from nothing, with no materials? No, he cannot. Throughout the recorded history of humanity, there have been outstanding personalities for the last at least 5,000 years. That is, 2,000 years since Jesus Christ and 3,000 years before Jesus Christ, the Son of Mary. For 5,000 recorded years, there have been human beings came calling themselves prophets, messengers. Most of you, and most of all human beings, whether from China or from Africa or from Europe or from Asia or from America, North or South America or anywhere in the world, they know the names of these human beings because they were outstanding human beings, extraordinary human beings. At their time, because of their behavior and their impact upon society. Men like Noah, Abraham, Moses, men like Solomon, David, Jacob, Isaac, Zachariah, John the Baptist, Jesus Christ, the Son of Mary, and Muhammad ibn Abdullah. Peace and blessings be upon all of them. These extraordinary human beings over the period of 5,000 years stand out from all other human beings. Now, they were not industrialists. They were not professors of universities. They were not sophisticated in terms of their academia. But it was the commitment to human behavior and their insistence upon worshiping only God. Their common message was this whole phenomena, man in his environment, man and his challenge and his drama, man, the life that's given to him, man and his responsibility, man is the beneficiary of whom? God. All those prophets said that. Now, it doesn't matter which one of those prophets that you prefer above the other. Doesn't matter. They all said the same thing. They came at different times, different places, to different people, but they all said the same thing. Man, think about your life and what gift has been given to you. It is God that gave it to you, and you are responsible to acknowledge the one that gave you this gift. This is what these prophets and messengers said. Recognize, conform, and worship God, Almighty God, without any partners, diversities, associates, without any idols, without any pagan practices. For God wants you to recognize Him, worship Him, and conform and obey directly. Directly. Through education, worship, and the acceptance of global moralities, human beings are able to establish civilized behavior. Now, this is a very important point. Global morality. Now, one of the globally accepted moralities is that one should not take the life of another without justification. Isn't that a global morality? One should not take the property of another. One should not covet the wife husband of another. One should not slander. One should not undermine. One should not do these things. These are called global behaviors. One should act decently towards their fellow man. These are called global behaviors. For if you go to China, if you go to Africa, here in Australia, if you go to Europe, if you go to Russia, you go to anywhere, there are what they call globally accepted codes of conduct. No matter what religion they are, or no religion at all, they still observe these globally established codes of conduct. We call them good and bad. Because if that were not the case, there would be no way to establish what is good, and there would be no way to establish what is bad. And people who thought whatever they thought was good would have their people, and the people who thought whatever was good on another side would have their people, and there would be wars just based upon the perception of good. Wars are not based upon the perception of good. Wars are based upon the perception of personal interest. But good and bad is well established. Male and female used to be clear. Sky and earth is clear. Water and ice are clear. Salt and pepper are clear. There are some very clearly established radicals, differences that even animals recognize. But humans, when their faculties become clouded or distorted, they are the only creatures that forget these radicals. Because things that animals don't do, humans, when their sense of morality becomes distorted, they do what animals don't do. I want you to consider the complex organization of this universe and think to yourself, could man or a group of men had anything to do with it? I think you answered before, absolutely not. I want you to consider the phenomenal diversity of the earth systems and its environment. Think for a moment. Think about the mountains, some which have never been climbed. Think about the oceans that man has been able to build machines to cover, deserts that man has been able to build machines to cover, but still they exist. Think about the ecosystem, the atmosphere, the stratosphere, the ionosphere. Think about the atmosphere of just our universe, which is a small universe within the Milky Way. And the Milky Way is a very small galaxy in the Andromeda. And the Andromeda is only one of millions or billions clusters. Think about that. How then significant is man? How significant is the human being when we think about this vastness? Think about the recently discovered characteristics of the microsystems existing within substance itself. That is, it has been discovered recently that the atom is not the smallest part of substance. Now there are what? Microatoms, isn't it? There's something now called the quarks. They say which is a millionth of an atom, a split of a millionth of an atom. And now we have discovered that every part of creation that has been discovered is inside of a drop of water. Well, the Quran already said that to us 1,500 years ago, that we created everything and every single thing from water. The Quran said that. Think about the anatomy of the human being and the intricate and complicated systems that are necessary for its functioning. That you and I, we can only go maybe 28 days without water and then we die. That you and I, if we are put in a room and we are fed and giving water and everything of support, but no one to talk to, we will go crazy and we will die. Because we're social beings. And without somebody to communicate with, we will go crazy and die from depression. Think about the anatomy of the human body and its complicated systems that are necessary for its functioning. Think about the kidneys. Think about the brain. Think about the tongue. How is it that a person catches a stroke, and when they catch a stroke, they lose the ability to taste? How much would they pay? How much would they pay just to be able to taste an apple? Think about the stomach. And when a person catches cancer of some sort and is unable to digest their food and has a bag outside of their body, what would they pay to have that repaired? Think about the lungs. Think about the skin, how it functions, how it breathes, how it intakes. Think about the fingers. Think about the 360 joints of the body, how they function. Just think about all the different functions and phenomena of the human body that man is still discovering, and if he has to investigate, research, and discover, certainly he did not create himself. Isn't it clear? Think about the discoveries of forensic science, genetic research, laser technology, quantum physics, atomic and nuclear energy, fiber optics, global telecommunications, and medical research, and still man lives like an animal. Man has not come up with a formula to be able to deal harmoniously with other human beings and to resolve differences without slaughtering the rest of his human beings. Man still hasn't come up with that ability. Think about the many food substances and the aquamarine substances that make up the common air that we breathe every second and minute of our lives, and the many sources of fundamental energy that human civilization depends upon. Think about the many different types of energy that the human being needs just to live. Tell me, how is all of this possible without a power and an intelligence outside of the universe and the human phenomena? At this point, I'd like my brother to recite a few verses from the Quran. And I just want you to be patient, because when we give a proof from the Quran, we want you to hear the medicine. Now, you won't know what he's saying right away because it's in Arabic. But out of respect for the revelation, I want him to recite it. Then I'm going to translate it for you because it's relative to my topic.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم وآية لهم الأرض الميتة أحييناها وأخرجنا منها حبا فمنه يأكلون وجعلنا فيها جنات من نخيل وأعناب وفجرنا فيها من العيون ليأكلوا من ثمره وما عملته أيديهم أفلا يشكرون سبحان الذي خلق الأزواج كلها مما تنبت الأرض ومن أنفسهم ومما لا يعلمون وآية لهم الليل نسلخ منه النهار فإذا هم مظلمون والشمس تجري لمستقر لها ذلك تقدير العزيز العليم والقمر قدرناه منازل حتى عاد كالعرجون القديم لا الشمس ينبغي لها أن تدرك القمر ولا الليل سابق النهار وكل في فلك يسبحون.
I want to remind you or tell you that this revelation, the Quran, was revealed 1424 years ago to an illiterate. That means a man who had no schooling, a man born in the desert, an Arab, chosen by Almighty God to receive a revelation, a man like Jesus, a man like John the Baptist, a man like Zechariah, a man like Isaac, a man like Ismail, a man like Moses, a man like Abraham, a man like Noah, a man like Adam, alayhi salam, peace and blessing be upon him, a man, a messenger, and a prophet. Now this Quran that he recited is recited by 1.4 billion people in the world and memorized from cover to cover, 6,626 verses, by literally millions of Muslims. Not a few, but millions. And it is the ambition of every Muslim to have a son or a daughter in their life that memorizes this entire book. So it's not a phenomenon, except that this book was memorized and preserved in the life of the one that received it from God. And in his lifetime, it was memorized and it was retained and never changed and intact until now. Look what it says. I gave you some statistics, and the basis of it was from the Quran. The Quran says, and a sign for them is the dead earth. It is brought back to life, and then from it springs fruits and grains of all kinds which they eat. And we place therein gardens and palm trees and grapevines, and cause them to burst forth therein some springs that come from the ground that man doesn't control himself. And there he creates his industry, that they may eat of the fruit created by God, and their hands have not produced it at all. So will they be grateful? Exalted is he who created all life in pairs. So the Quran establishes that everything in life has been created in pairs. Whether plants, whether animals, whether insects, whether fish or bacteria. Has science ratified that everything in life has been created in pairs? Yes, the Quran said that 1,424 years ago. And of course the Prophet Muhammad, peace and blessing be upon him, he wasn't a botanist, he wasn't a geologist, he didn't have a microscope, he had no way of knowing that. The only way a human being 1,424 years could know that is through the help and inspiration of the one who is the creator from the beginning. Because that fact that everything has been created in pairs was only discovered 78 years ago, scientifically. Exalted is he, Almighty God, who created all things in pairs, from what the earth grows, and from themselves, the human beings, and from that which they do not know. That means, here the Quran is establishing that there are some creatures, maybe micro creatures, that are also created in pairs that the human being doesn't know about. And a sign for them is the night, that we extract from the light of the day. Now, this is the phenomena itself that we have now discovered from going outer space. When we go out in space, we realize that the day is extracted from the night, not the night from the day. We realize that night is first and day is second, although we say day-night. We realize now that time is really inverted, but you have to go out in space to be able to see it. That's why in Australia, we are sitting here